back to another episode of Revealing Biblical Truths. We are continuing the series on Biblical Archaeology, and today we'll be looking at the evidence for the Cave of Machpelah. Before we begin, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and comment down below if you have any ideas for other sites you want me to look at. Alright, now let's get started on the Cave of Machpelah. What is the Cave of Machpelah? It is a cave in the Adamah Kodesh, the Holy Land, that was the site of many events in Genesis, and ultimately where several patriarchs are recorded to have been buried. So where is this cave? The first consideration must be location. The site is in the suburbs of present-day Hebron. If we look at a map of the Holy Land, we can see the Dead Sea on the right, with Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Mamre, and Hebron to the west of it, heading south. The city of Hebron is situated in a valley which runs north and south, surrounded by beautiful terraced hills. The cave is situated on a plain atop of one of the many hills. The text of the Bible doesn't provide much info as to the precise location, other than saying it is before Mamre, which means adjacent to it. And all we know about Mamre is that it is a plain and that it is in a Hebron area. So Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built a slaughter place there to Yahuwah. The next clue is that Yahuwah visits Abraham with the angels who go on to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And Yahuwah appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. The next day, after the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah are destroyed, Abraham was able to look out and see the smoke rising from the entire area, which is consistent with his being on top of a high area. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and he looked and saw the smoke of the land which went up like the smoke of a furnace. The site of the cave itself is near the edge of a plain on top of a high hill. A few hundred feet from it, the hill descends and goes straight down. You can see the valley down below. And these pictures are the building on top of the cave to the left, and a reconstruction of what the complex would look like on the right. So, what is supposedly in this cave? According to Genesis, Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, and Jacob, and Leah are all buried here. And the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial site. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Yitzchak and Rivkah his wife, and there I buried Leah. Now, let's see some archaeological evidence. Firstly, the cave is in the correct location, in Hebron on top of a hill. Secondly, this picture shows a shelf-like niche carved into the wall of the cave, which could have acted as a table on which to prepare spices for burial. The shelf is 1.4 meters by 0.8 meters. Third, there are holes carved into the upper portion of the walls of the cave which are angled downward, consistent with holes made to hold torches for light. Fourth, there are three crypts, carved into the side of the cave. The first measures 3.5 by 1.25 meters, the second 3 by 1.2 meters, and the third 3.75 by 1.3 meters. The size of each crypt is relatively uniform, and the fact that there are only 3 could indicate that the wife of each patriarch was buried in the same crypt as her husband. Fifth, there is a doorway to the cave, as its outline can be seen chiseled into the entrance. Sixth, there is an ancient structure directly on top of the cave. This structure indicates it was some type of shrine. It has a sort of fenced-in enclosure on one side. There is also remains of an object in the middle that resembles an altar made with stones. In addition, there are many other burials that were found directly around the cave, which may indicate relatives of the family. Josephus, the Jewish historian that lived around the time of the Mashiach, states in Antiquities of the Jews, Book 2, Chapter 8, in paragraph 2, that at its length his brethren died, after they had lived happily in Egypt. Now their posterity and the sons of these men, after some time, had carried their bones and buried them at Hebron. In another quote by Josephus, he seems to point to the monument I just discussed that was on top of the cave. Isaac also died not long after the coming of his son, and was buried by his sons with his wife in Hebron, where they had a monument belonging to them from their forefathers. The traditional site that's attributed to the Cave of Machpelah has none of these hallmark signs from the Bible and is dated from much later. It is an interesting note that no bones were found in the cave at all, but a crack was in the top of the cave. Could it be that their bodies were spoken of by Yahusha? And the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the set-apart ones who had fallen asleep were raised, and coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the set-apart city and appeared to many. It is indeed a possibility that Abraham, Isaac, and the rest were resurrected at that time, and Yahusha took them with him up to heaven as part of the firstfruits offering. The cave is only about 20 miles from Jerusalem and would have been within walking distance. This verse might also substantiate that claim. And I say to you that many shall come from east and west and sit down with Abraham and Yitzchak and Jacob in the reign of the heavens. It sounds like these patriarchs could already be in the heavenly city, waiting for the rest of us to join them. So let's recap the evidence that captures this site. We have 3 separate crypts, all about the same size. There is evidence of an earthquake which caused cracks on top. It is in the correct location in Hebron, and you can see the valley down below as well as the Dead Sea. The crypts are empty, which supports the scripture in Matthew. All of these things corroborate this site as being the true Cave of Machpelah, the cave that Abraham purchased so long ago. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. In the next video, we will be looking at probably the most controversial and maybe the most important archaeological site ever, the Ark of the Covenant. So stay tuned. Until next time, Shalom.